Impressionists was the term a harsh critic gave to the very first artists of the Impressionist movement after viewing the painting by Claude Monet, Impression Sunrise, at the 1874 show in Paris. However, by the third show, the artists embraced the term and called themselves Impressionists. Impressionism painting style incorporates the speed and spontaneous nature present in sketches. In this video, I will be comparing three paintings, Impression Sunrise by Claude Monet, and Summer's Day by Berthe Morisset of the Impressionism movement, and Café Terrace at Night by Vincent van Gogh of the Post-Impressionism movement. This video will cover the differences and similarities of each piece and also different aspects of each painter's life that may have influenced their individual stylistic choices. In Monet's Impression Sunrise oil painting, there is emphasis on reflected sunlight on the water of this misty scene. Monet was known for his exceptional color sensibility, creating artworks directly on canvas without preliminary sketches. This is one such painting, having been created during Monet's stay at Hôtel de la Motte at Port l'Ave, France. This place held a special spot in Monet's heart, as it was his hometown. Monet was among the first artists to familiarize himself with Japanese pictorial art. This piece was composed using the Japanese system of perspective as he looked out his window in Les Havres. From his viewpoint, he could not see the port itself, as it was his intention to focus on the morning mist. Monet became the head of the Impressionists, which was decided unanimously at the first Impressionist exhibition by the group of artists present. In this painting, the composition features two main focal points, the orange sun veiled by mist and the silhouettes of a couple smaller boats. There is great emphasis on the color of this piece. The hazy sunlight filters through the blue mist in the early morning hours. The quick brush strokes give this painting texture and add movement to the water. The blue-orange color throughout this artwork creates a sense of harmony. Next, we take a look at Berthe Morisset's painting. In Summer's Day, the bright palette and sketchy brushstrokes portray well-dressed women at Bois de la Boulogne. Morisset puts emphasis on lighting the brightest areas surrounding the women in this piece. The line of the boat creates diagonal in this composition, an element pioneered by Edgar Degas. There is unity in this artwork by balanced brightness throughout the painting. Movement can be observed in this piece by looking at the brushstrokes of the water and the swiftly painted carriage in the background. This painting was likely on display in the 5th Impressionist exhibition. Women painters were pretty rare in the Impressionist movement. Berthe Morisset gave her unique perspective in her work, often depicting Parisian women and members of her family. She was born into an upper-middle-class family, and it was her father who encouraged her and her two sisters to take drawing lessons. Like many other artists, including Monet, she visited the Louvre often. Her family became close to Edouard Manet and his wife, visiting each other many times. She was a friend and colleague of Manet and began to care about his opinions regarding Impressionism. She later married his brother, Eugene Manet, which allowed her to fully devote herself to painting. In Vincent van Gogh's painting, Café Terrace at Night, the influence of Impressionism is evident, but the brightly contrasting complementary colors of Post-Impressionism are the main element of this piece. Van Gogh did not always work with such bright colors. His style shift can be attributed in part to Seurat and Pointillism. His style shift occurred in Paris a little before his move to Arles, where he befriended artist Paul Signac, a neo-impressionist painter. For a time, Van Gogh was happy painting in Paris. Signac recalls one day walking back to Paris with Van Gogh after painting, saying, "Van Gogh was wearing a dark blue shirt whose sleeves were covered with a constellation of tiny drops of paint. Walking beside me, he shouted, gesticulated, and swung a freshly painted canvas, soiling himself and passers-by with paint." This happiness would not last, as the bustling city made Van Gogh anxious and uncomfortable. This led him to leaving his brother in Paris to settle in Arles, a smaller French countryside. By this time, his painting style in Arles was marked with harmoniously expressive brushstrokes and rich colors contrasting each other. Van Gogh's goal was to express emotion forcefully with color. In Café Terrace at Night, the rich orange and yellow hues of the gaslight are beautifully contrasted by the complementary blues of the starry sky and houses. Some outlining is present in this composition, influenced by Japanese artists. He studied Japanese engravings, which informed his style of line work. Like Monet, Van Gogh applied the Japanese system of perspective to his landscapes. In a letter to his sister, Wilhelmina, he says, "I really enjoy painting on the spot at night." Later, astronomical research on the painting discovered that Van Gogh painted the constellation exactly as it looked the night of September 16th or 17th in 1888. Side by side, we can see that each painting employs similar elements, but also is unique to each artist. Monet was known for his beautifully composed landscapes, with color application not only relative to the environment, but also the emotional component of each piece. Morisot's artwork is marked by dappled light and the portrayal of Parisian women in many of her paintings. This piece exemplifies these elements, as two well-dressed women are shown in a bright summer atmosphere. Van Gogh takes the expressive paint strokes from Impressionism and amplifies them. His style breaks away from Impressionism with his vivid use of complementary colors, an element of Post-Impressionism. Together, these artists made a great impact on the art world, their radical take on painting making a way for artists to express themselves in a whole new light.